Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'll be showing you how to replace the timing chain on your car or truck. Now this truck here is a 1990 Ford Bronco, but this technique will work on many other vehicles out there. Now a good way to test out your timing chain is to remove the spout connector located near the distributor and connect the timing light. Now rev the engine up to about 3,000 RPM and notice if the timing indicator moves a couple of degrees. If it does, it's definitely time for a replacement timing chain. Now this is the original timing chain for this vehicle, so it's definitely in need of replacement. And what you'll need to do this job is a timing chain gear set, replacement gaskets for the timing chain cover and water pump. And since we'll be doing this job, it's a good opportunity to replace the harmonic balancer. So let's get started on this job now. Now first things first, you're going to want to drain your cooling system, so loosen the drain plug on the bottom of your radiator. Now while the cooling system is draining, let's go ahead and remove the intake ducting so we have better access to the area. Next, remove the upper and lower radiator hoses. Now the next step would be to remove the fan and shroud. But as you can see, I have a dual electric fan setup and I have deleted the fan and shroud. So to remove them, just remove the bolts attaching the fan to the water pump and the two bolts attaching the shroud to the radiator, and lift them off as a complete unit. And now we're ready to proceed to the next step. And now we can remove the belt. Remove the two heater hoses off the water pump and put them off to the side. Now remove all of the bolts holding the AC compressor and power steering bracket onto the block. Set the bracket off to the side so we can have better access to the water pump and timing chain cover. Now it's time to remove the water pump, but be sure to work the studded bolts that bolt into the block back and forth to avoid snapping them. Once all the bolts are out, remove the water pump. Remove the harmonic balancer pulley bolts. And remove the pulley. Now for this next step, we will need to lock down the harmonic balancer so it doesn't spin as we remove the bolt. And I used a flathead screwdriver and pinned it against the oil pan bolt. Now this is not a very popular technique, so I do recommend using an impact wrench if you have it, as these bolts are on there pretty tight. And be sure to fish out the washer. For this next step, you will need a harmonic balancer remover tool. So attach it to your harmonic balancer and press it off. Remove the bolts holding down the timing marker and remove the marker. Remove the 4 bolts attaching the oil pan to the timing chain cover. And be sure to loosen the rest of the oil pan bolts to help separate the oil pan from the timing chain cover. Remove the remaining cover bolts. And remove the timing chain cover. Be careful not to damage the oil pan gasket as you remove the timing chain cover. Now this gasket's fairly new, so it came off pretty easily. If you do happen to damage your oil pan gasket, the replacement gasket set does come with an oil pan repair kit. Align the markers on the timing chain sprockets. And as you can see, this old timing chain has a lot of deflection. Now remove the camshaft bolt and slide off the timing chain and sprockets as a set. Now we have the timing chain and timing cover off. The next step would be to prep the timing chain cover. The crank seal on the timing chain cover is pressed on there pretty tight, so I do recommend using a press instead of a hammer as this is thin aluminum and you do run the risk of breaking it if you do pound on it too hard. Now let's clean up the sealing surfaces on the front and back. Once you have the cover nice and clean, support it with 2 wooden blocks and tap in the new crank seal. Now let's prep the block. It's a good idea to stuff some rags down here so no dirt or debris lands inside the oil pan. Now once you get your block all dolled up, it's time to put on the timing chain. Now before we install the timing set, let's dip it in oil for a few minutes. And once it's ready, make sure the 2 timing markers are lined up so we can slide it onto the block. Again, make sure the timing markers on the sprockets are lined up and slide the timing set onto the block. Alright, you can tell here the deflection is nice and minimal, so we're ready for the next step. Now install the cam bolt and torque it down. Next, apply a very thin amount of silicone on the gasket mating surface of the block. Press on the timing cover gasket. And coat the corners of the timing and oil pan gaskets with silicone. Now carefully align and install your timing cover. Install a few of the timing cover bolts and just snug them in for now. Line up and snug down the timing pointer. Now we can install and torque down the oil pan bolts. And now you can torque down the timing cover bolts. Apply a very thin amount of grease to the harmonic balancer to avoid damaging the new seal. And install the new harmonic balancer. And torque down the harmonic balancer. Install the crank pulley and tighten it down. Apply a thin layer of silicone around the water outlets and attach the water pump gasket. Now install and torque down the water pump. Install and tighten down the heater hoses. Now reattach the power steering bracket and torque it down. Reconnect the radiator hoses and tighten them down. And now you can reinstall your belt. Reinstall the intake ducting. And lastly, fill the radiator with fresh coolant and be sure to burp the system. Alright guys, so we changed out that timing chain and she's running pretty good. Now you may have to readjust your ignition timing, so just make sure you follow your manufacturer's instructions. Now this truck runs at 10 degrees before top dead center, but again yours might vary. So if this video helped you guys, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.